Hi, I'm Brendan, and welcome to Personality Epistemology. So I'm going to do this video where basically I need help, and I'm trying to figure out how to get help, and it's awfully complicated, and I need help in a number of different ways, and I'm seeking collaboration on this, and so basically I am an INTJ personality type, or that's my personality type, and I also have severe ADHD, and I think there's overlap with that. I think ADHD partly describes things associated with intuition for some people, for a lot of people, and with me in particular, it describes was basically I have like working memory limitations, and I associate this with the personality frameworks of introverted sensation being like a shadow or less accessible function for me. I mean, I've developed all of my functions to some degree, but like I can only hold so many things in my mind at one time, except for my intuition. My introverted intuition has all this, all these inner associations and everything, long-term working memory. But anyway, so I'm working as a caregiver, and then there's a bunch of things associated with that. But then I'm also working to coordinate high-stakes situations for a number of people, and this gets into this whole world that I have not seen cross-referenced with the personality YouTube, for example, conversations. Like, yeah, and it overlaps a lot with what's discussed in like professional helping work as moral injury, triaging, and so on. But I'm pursuing creating basically a novel kind of professional work that is interdisciplinary helping work, and it ends up spanning like a bunch of different things. So part of the challenge that I'm facing is I'm essentially functioning as doing what a government should be doing if things actually worked right, funding survival of people, of a few people, and then I also know people who need like food and so on. So I'm trying to figure out more income and funding to actually do coordination work, and also collaborators to do coordination work, where people are going to die if they cannot get the situational collaboration that they need and resources. And it just seems to me that somebody somewhere must care about this. I mean, people talk about it, but everything's like encapsulated into organizations that only focus on certain things, or individuals or groups of people who are helping certain people but not others. Like, everyone has limited capacity, but there's like there's an opportunity to do a lot more effective coordination work if people could come together, especially intuitive types, and collaborate to help avert deaths and transform horrible situations. And the organizations that are supposed to be doing this, the governments, are doing an absolutely terrible job as on a population level basis. So I invite anyone who cares to get involved, or who likes doing complex figuring out, to get involved and help me figure this out, and help figure out how to coordinate funds to do this work. And it's like the gaps in the services and so on. So I have this layout on screen, but what I'm going to do here is I am going to show this other layout that it's kind of, I just sketched this together just now. Right, so with personality epistemology, and I came up with this term epistemic identity, and there's this song, This Is Me, and also just that, the meaning of this is me. So it's like, I have sort of a representation of myself here, which also could represent other people, but it's like the horror look because of all these problems incoming and happening. So I have a representation of Earth, lives on the line, possible futures. My bank account, I mean, it's not quite zero, but it's pretty much zero. And there's Medicaid managed care. There's this whole thing of like all this money going to provide what ends up being way subpar services for compared to what could be done with the money. But then I just have caregiver pay, and then that's, I triage that out every time I get paid, and meanwhile the economy has all these problems, and then there's this incredible lack of innovation and actual learning facilitation, research, education around solving these problems. People die, like over 100,000 deaths of despair a year in the US, and all these other issues. So I have reference to Ray Dalio's Principles for Success here, and so I'm interested to sort of cross-reference and combine the world of the personality YouTube and ADHD and like communities and business or whatever. And then so I have a reference here, this article from Systems Thinker, Moving from Blame to Accountability, and I'm interested to address the fact that I tend to overcommit, or I promise or agree to do things beyond my capacity, because I need a team. I need to be able to delegate tasks, and I'm trying to catch up with all this stuff, but it's like if I don't do it, or somebody doesn't do it, people are going to die. And so meanwhile the financial system is so disconnected from needs, and the whole situation with work, all these people are quitting professions because the professions, 20th century professions, education and psych and medical, all this stuff are fragmented and failing numerous people, and it's time to create some new types of work that actually connects with how people can do things well and the needs that are out there. So I have reference to Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, and I have this At the Crossroads trope from TV Tropes. And then let me make this bigger. So I've been trying to figure out how to coordinate a summit that brings people together to discuss this stuff. And so and I came up with this term creativity gambit, which is a reference to figuring things out in more innovative ways. I have a reference to prudence from Aquinas 101. And prudence is a term that many people don't have a very sophisticated understanding of its meaning in classical philosophy and Aquinas and so on. And I'm seeing that it's coming back, like actually figuring out how to do foresight and anticipation and scenario planning and all this stuff, which overlaps. And I have this screenshot here from 2014 of it's like just introducing some basic vocabulary and concepts and things that are possible. And many people think that all these problems can't be solved, or no one knows how to solve them, but they are solvable in many cases. So, and then I have this thing, it's like from different types of power, constructive power, the capacity to provide something the other side wants. So maybe people can work together and actually create value and improve like the economic situation by not just having scraps, but like generating value. And I think that tech has an AI have diminishing returns and limits to what they can do. compared to human cognition and so on. So I have this thing I put together. It's just kind of a word connection thing, but it's like the land of the free and the home of the brave, and then these songs, A Safe Place to Land and Brave, which references truth and so on. People say the truth will set you free. I agree with that, but it's complicated to take into account the whole truth, everything, and then transform the problem. So I came up, or I sort of came up with this term, structural inundation of responsibility, based on this this article about personal inundation of responsibility and structural disavowal. Like people are like, oh, it's just this social structure, we can't change it, but it's like stuff can be workshopped and transformed live. And then I have leading in liminal times, problems and opportunities, and a reference here to the Jungian observer functions, sensing and intuition, and these are quotes from Ray Dalio's Principles for Success, of instead of frustration and overwhelm as like endpoints, these can be curiosity openings for things to learn and figure out. And I have these other songs, the song Boots, which references things like truthing and changing, which could be done better, and Vanessa Carlton, Heroes and Thieves, and the reference to cause and effect, and my video called Interaction Management from 2012. So, what? It's like I'm shaking. What I'm trying to do here is use YouTube. I mean, people are saying use TikTok, but it's just, I need longer form content, and I need to figure out, and there's tons of people on YouTube, on all these, like, personality YouTube and author tube and all these things, and it's like these are live stories playing out, and the writers guilds are on strike, and it's like maybe instead of watching fiction, people could co-create actual situation change when people are going to die otherwise, and that's not happening. And every time someone unnecessarily dies, something didn't happen to transform the situation before it happened. And this is kind of what I'm trying to figure out, and because I don't really have much audience on YouTube, and I don't really know that many people, and almost everyone I know either is in a life and death situation, or like living in situational crisis, or is like, go away, leave me alone. And so there's got to be people who have time, assets, priorities, space to do something, who could join in figuring out how to avert catastrophe. And it's like there's all these videos about INTJ strategy and all this stuff. Like, I've developed all these skills, and yet I'm completely disconnected from what should be happening, which is teamwork to avert catastrophe. I mean, the teamwork that I have is entirely with people who could easily die at any time because of how messed up the situations are and how hard it is to get help, and the formal professions are designed to ignore complex problems almost completely. I mean, there's journal articles that outline this. I can cite them. I could write a dissertation about it, but it's like, who's going to read that? So, here on the screen, I came up with this term, a run on my time. Like, there's just too much to do, and I need to be able to delegate or escalate to teamwork that's collaborative, and not just rushing to these things. Like, people say, oh, you're going to die, go to the hospital, no matter what the situation is. It's like, okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. And oh yeah, I came up with this term, tangle triangle, which is kind of intended to be a little bit cute or funny, but it's also serious. So it's like there's the power of love and the power of trust. Maybe some people want to apply this to figuring things out. If anyone's interested in this, comment, and I hope to, I don't know how, but somehow or another, figure out how to connect some of these worlds. I mean, there's people from, I mean, there's all these, it's fragmentation, and I know there are people out there, many people, who like looking for meaningful things to do, and there's a lot to do, and I want to sort of produce this sort of interactive class, learning experience, immersive story, and I've been trying to figure this out, but it's just going to have to emerge. So, thoughts welcome, questions welcome. I'll continue producing videos and see what I can and collectively can do and happen.